Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for our Dearly Departed review for round 16. Dearly Departed, the show where we look at the teams I covered down in the Championship who've got themselves into the big league. We're talking Leeds, Villa, Norwich, Watford and Brentford. And for once actually, it's been a rare occurrence in these past sort of 3 or 4 weeks. They've all played their game by Saturday night, so we can crack on and do this on a Sunday morning. I may look a little worse for wear. I was on a gig last night. I got back very, very late. But we got to get on and we got to do this. And we're going to get into the games in just a sec. First of all, we're going to say a big thank you to Simon Hoyle, 25 years of Bees fan, finally the bus stop in Hounslow in the Premier League. Thanks, Dad, for taking me 96 when football was not such a priority as it is now. Simon is our fan sponsor. He's got involved over at patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. It'll always be free, this channel here on YouTube. But if you want to support my work, you can do so over on Patreon, just like Simon has. And we are going to that bus stop in Hounslow first, because fleetingly Aston Villa were our top-ranked team. But it is back to Brentford and their win over Watford on Friday night, where we are going to start. Right, it was Brentford 2, Watford 1 on Friday night on Sky Sports on the Friday Night Football. Now, I did this game as the watch-along on the channel, so if you really want, you can get a second-by-second look at my reaction to everything that happened in this game. So we won't go complete chapter and verse. Go and check that out on the channel, but plenty to talk about in this one. Brentford still missing David Raya and Christopher Adra at the back. Fernandez and Good in there. Apologies any Brentford fans I upset. Maybe I was a bit stiff on Charlie Good last week. I was just pointing out it had been a big step up for him from Northampton. But good luck to him, more power to him. Maybe I shouldn't have picked him out too hard for that goal. He starts again in this one alongside Pontus Jansson and Vitaly Janelt. So basically, they don't have their keeper. They don't have two of their first choice back three, with Pinnock out as well. Roslev and Henry don't have one of their wing backs either. So really struggling for first teamers here with Canos not there. Baptiste, Norgard, Jensen, and Buemo. And Wisa up top, meaning the biggest miss of them all, star striker Ivan Toney. So you can literally pick out 4 or 5 first teamers missing for Brentford in this one. But as Neville and Carragher said on Sky, they have done a good job of making these night games, particularly events, and they've got good results in all of those games, haven't they? Now, Arsenal, Liverpool, Watford, what have they taken? 7 points out of those 3 games. Watford will think, given the game state in this one and the time of the match that the goals went in, that maybe they should have been on a lower total from those 3 games, but we'll go through what did and didn't happen. Backman in goal for Watford, no Foster. Firmino, Ekon, Cathcart and Gakia. Sissoko, Kuchka, Hernandez, Cleverly, King and Dennis. And Dennis in very good form. And Dennis is going to score the opening goal in this one. It's nodded home from a set play. Tom Cleverly sticks the corner in. Let me just preface this by saying, up until this point, I thought Watford had played it quite well. Brentford really weren't creating a lot, couple of quick transitions, couple of set plays. But it looked like Watford were nicely set, and I think King had hit the post just before this, hadn't he? And there was a bit of a sense of, if the game continued this pattern for the entire 90, that Watford might pick Brentford off and get the win here. And they take the lead. Dennis has been in fine form, but we get immediately into our zonal marking conversation, don't we? Now, let's be honest. People get very confused, like one is better than the other, zonal marking, man-to-man marking. I totally don't buy the argument that you often get of, oh, well, at least I know if somebody scores whose fault it is. Look, zonal marking done well is better than man-to-man marking done badly. Man-to-man marking done well is better than zonal. Whatever you do, you just got to do it well. And this hybrid that a lot of teams use, where there's a guy on the near post in the zone, not actually on the post. Sometimes a guy actually on the far post. And then maybe 1, 2, 3 zonals and then 3-man to... We often get that, don't we, in the hybrid. Anyway, whatever happens, Janssen is in his zone, the ball drops in front, and he just doesn't go to attack it. I guess it was Charlie Goodope. It drops over his head. I don't think it's his fault, but you just want him to be on your toes, be on the front foot. Don't tell me Emmanuel Dennis in a, and everyone will go back to the man-to-man situation now, won't they? Don't tell you Emmanuel Dennis in a 50-50 is going to out-jump Pontus Janssen. In that space, though, he rises. He's a player in form, and he bullets the header in 1-0 Watford. And we have to go all the way into the second half, up to the 84th minute for the equaliser here. And obviously the narrative is mainly surrounding a substitution made by Claudio Ranieri, where he pulls out Tom Cleverley and sticks João Pedro on, essentially dropping a central midfielder out and sticking a fairly silky attacking player on. So he's now defending a 1-0 lead with Dennis, King, Hernandez and João Pedro. They sort of go to a 4-4-2 and Hernandez is wide one side and King is wide the other side. And with hindsight, a lot of Watford fans are now looking back and thinking, oh, crikey, if that, do the opposite. If that had been, I don't know, a Tufan just coming in and sticking in a midfield three and just really hold that central midfield there. I get the counter-attacking capabilities of these players, but yes. And also, in this game, and I am going into detail now, a couple of minutes before, Watford defended a set play, kind of got it clear, and then we're just very silly in just all getting ahead of the ball. And they did exactly the same thing for this goal. If you looked at the set play, the first phase of it is fine. They get it clear. And then I think 3 of those players I've just mentioned all get ahead of the ball trying to counter-attack. And then they just get caught down the right. The cross goes in. I think it's Yanel and Good, possibly, is it? Who flicks it on at the... Force, beg your pardon. Force flicks it on. And then Janssen, look, maybe slightly making amends there. A bit more dominant in the same 6-yard box there. Just powers the ball into the net. And Brentford get the equaliser. And then you now take a game state situation whereby you've got a team that were happy to kind of sit. And while they weren't conceding, were a danger on the counter. You know what it's like. As soon as that swings to the equalising goal, it almost de facto... the team that equalised become the favourites to win the game in terms of momentum. Goal went in on 84. Brentford are going to win on... I think the penalty gets given on 93 and scored on 95. Let's get into it. And look, lots and lots of chitter-chatter and lots of people showing one particular angle of this. It's Ekong on Godos. Godos has been moved to left wing-back, by the way. So... sometimes you stumble on something, don't you? And in the absence of Canos and all the injured players and trying to get Force into the game, Godos ends up playing wing back and he ends up getting into this position to win the penalty. Maybe win being the operative word. But look, the second I saw this tackle going in from Ekong, and you can watch my reaction on the watch along, I thought that's definitely going to be a penalty. You just kind of know, don't you? This is before Godos even gets touched or goes down. If you do believe he got touched and goes down. So Godos goes into the box. He dummies the cross and Ekong slides in. And as much as people may not like this, complete purists, nowadays you almost get punished for the silliness of the tackle as opposed to the actual foul on the player. Do you know what I mean by saying that? So Ekong is done, out of the game. He's almost better holding his hands up and letting Godos just run past him and trusting the other defenders and keeper behind him at this point, because when he goes to ground and slide, and it's a big slide as well, we're kind of all watching going, oh no, this is not looking good for poor old Ekong. Now, I do understand a little bit the people that are moaning in respects that Godos, like 99% of players, whether you think it's right or wrong, see the tackle coming in and they're like, crikey, if I can get him to touch me now, down I go. And then it's a bit of a weird one because Ghoddos plants his foot. And he almost plants his foot on top of Ekong. And down he goes. The VAR checks it and gives the penalty. And look, I don't want to get into a long conversation about is the contact and the tackle proportionate to bring the player down. Let's be very plain about this. Probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, it never is. It's a mistimed tackle that isn't proportionate to bring the player down, but it's the player drawing the foul and then going down. So, look, I think the water gets a little bit muddied by the fact that Ghoddos actually ends up treading on Ekong. But, and I did read a couple of Twitter feeds about this, and look, let's not get into steaming arguments about it. But one comment I did see is when a defensive player slides in, it's actually not the responsibility of the attacking player to get out of the way and hop over it or whatever. That's impeding the player, isn't it? So I think the waters got a little bit muddy, didn't they? But there's no doubt in my mind that under the standard of the way penalties are given and the way games are refereed now, Ekong slides in, completely mistimes the tackle and impedes the direction to goal of Ghoddos. Yes, the waters get a bit muddied, but with my perception of the way the game is refereed, that to me is a penalty. It does get a little bit murky. From the back angle, you're like, penalty all day long. Then you look from the front and you're like, oh, okay. Ghoddos, of course, Ghoddos is looking for it. We all know that. He won't be the only, look, believe me, there's penalties in this show. But I don't have a problem with the decision, and I get why the VAR would check it and not overrule it. And I think it's a big mistake by Ekong. But yeah, I get the back and forth. Anyway, it was given. And look, Brentford have got one of the best penalty takers, frankly, I've said this on the show, I've ever seen. The run that Tony's on at the moment is just perfection, isn't it? So Brian Mbeumo's pretty good as well. Cool as you like, 94, 95 minutes, whatever it was. Sends the keeper the wrong way and gets the win for Brentford. Now, when you look at the numbers, and this is an absolute classic of game state versus numbers, isn't it? When you look at the numbers, and I do this a lot, and I haven't seen a whole game, and I do my analysis, and I try and always say, if you look at the numbers in isolation, I try and always say that because sometimes game state belies those numbers. If you looked at the numbers, you'd think, oh, Brentford, comfortable, deserved to win, got a late goal, but it wasn't really like that, was it? And I did watch all of this game, and I thought Watford were pretty decent value in the first half. I thought Brentford were huffing and puffing. They were missing players. And yeah, it just turns in their favour at the end there. They do push. They're starting to go for it in those last 10, 15 minutes. And once they get one goal, then it swings massively. And people will point to that XG number. Yeah, penalty pads it. Big chance for, there's probably 1.2 of that is the 2 goals. But it is what it is. And look, 2 big chances to 1, 63 on the possession. I think we all know watching this, the game state, and ifs, buts and maybes and sliding doors, if that corner comes in on 84, King heads it away and then those 2-3 Watford players don't get ahead of the ball and they stop that cross, there's every chance we're sat here, and then goes 85, 86 minutes, every chance we're sat here talking about a 1-0 Watford win. So it's numbers and eye test, and that's the beauty of looking at the stats. You put them all together. I don't want to get into deserved win, deserved point, whatever. It is what it is. The game state swung, the substitution, the defending of that cross and that particular set play, 2 goals, bam, bam, penalty. It is what it is, and Brentford get the win. Watford will be pretty disappointed with this. Brentford will be, you can see Thomas Frank's like, that's the best case scenario. All those players missing and 1-0 down at 84 minutes. He's going to be jumping through hoops, isn't he? Happy with that one. Watford is a worry now because I've been saying for the longest time now, get through this run of games. They seem set up to score goals and to take chances. King, Dennis, Hernandez, that doesn't even factor in Sarr as well, who's a very good player. they're making way too many mistakes defensively. I know Watford fans are getting fed up with people talking about their defence, but look, I mean, come on, don't dive in the 94th minute and they've got a point here and we're not talking about a victory. So there is still, as much as it's frustrating for Watford fans to hear, there is still a sense that if they just defended, they're defending 4 or 5 out of 10. If they just defended 7 out of 10 now, they would have more points than they've got. Anyway, get your comments in. A lot to unpack there. If you really want my detailed analysis, really detailed, there's 2 hours of it from the watch along. But there it was, and it was Brentford 2, Watford 1, and Brentford go back up into the top half at time of recording at 11:11 on the 12th of the 12th. There we go. At time of recording, they go back into the top half, and they are our highest ranked dearly departed team, winning a dearly departed derby. Keep your comments in. Brentford 2, Watford 1. I wonder, can we find a narrative for this one? Aston Villa returning to Anfield. Of course, it was all about Steven Gerrard, and he's very good at the whole football media pour water on it. But I think it meant quite a lot to the Liverpool fans to have Gerrard returning now as Aston Villa manager. And his team's going to go under here at Liverpool 1-0. We'll get into it. A penalty. Another one for us to talk about and debate winning this game and Gerrard's return. A big story, a second defeat for Villa under Gerrard. I think, so they've got 3 wins and 2 defeats. And to be fair to Stevie Gerrard and Villa, 2 defeats have come against Manchester City and Liverpool. So I'm sure if I reached out to Villa fans watching this and said in the comments, are you kind of happy with the perception that you're viable, but losing to those top teams? Sure, they'd be fine with that and moving upwards towards the middle of that table as they build under Steven Gerrard and kind of reset a little after the Dean Smith era ended. Here is your Stevie Gerrard 4-3-3 that we're getting used to now, and we're very used to that back 4 and keeper for Villa. Martinez in goal. He's going to get plenty of practice in this one, I think. Cash, Konza, Mings, target, very settled and solid. To be honest, most of the way through the team is now, isn't it? McGinn, Nakamba and Douglas Luiz. Now, very interesting. Look at the front 3. Ramsey on one side and Young on the other. He's picked 2 players there who very much can come back, get into a midfield 5, get in front of a fullback and cover them. So very much a view to go into a 4-5-1 without the ball with Watkins down the middle. Remember, there's Ings and Buendia and Bailey. Were they all on the bench? To be fair, Bailey is not on the bench. Look, Trezeguet, El Ghazi. He's got options for attacking wide players. He's got options for functional wide players. He's clearly gone for the functional approach. And why not? Let's be fair, Liverpool are a terrific team, aren't they? And scoring tons of goals and winning tons of games. So, don't hate the player, hate the game. There is that Liverpool team. It's brilliant, isn't it? Alisson, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, brilliant. Van Dijk and Matic. Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson. Mane, Salah. Oxlade-Chamberlain. Interesting starter up the top there. That's such a good team, isn't it? When you think about the balance of, very good goalkeeper, centre-half partnership with a real superstar centre-back, the full-backs. Love that midfield 3 as well. And maybe if Roberto Firmino or Jota is starting in there. But hey, the Ox gets a start in this one. And I was driving down to, it's very Chris Rea, isn't it? Driving down to London yesterday, and they kept cutting back on, I was listening to the coverage on the radio, kept cutting back. And the basic narrative of this was that Liverpool were dominant, creating chance after chance, not quite getting there. Honestly, and this was the radio's perception, was that Villa were very stiff, a bit Schauhauser-y as well, and trying to go there and frustrate, keep a clean sheet. Can you nick a goal? If not, can you keep a clean sheet? Can you get a point? So, look, slight departure from Dean Smith there. He was very wedded to his philosophy, wasn't he, Dean Smith, of, no, it doesn't matter who you're playing. If someone's better than you, fine, they'll beat you. But a bit more of a pragmatic side to Stevie Gerrard, which, is what it is. You like to see adaptable managers. You also like to see managers who are wedded to their philosophy. So, be interested in your kind of take on the approach. In the first half of this one, Villa no shots on target. To be honest, they don't have any shots on target throughout the entire game, do they, Villa? So look, 7 shots to 2 in the first half, 63% possession to Liverpool, 7 corners to 1. So very, very much a sense of sort of attack versus defence. Jota comes on then on 58 minutes. And for all Liverpool's dominance, I think they get quite a dodgy penalty here. And I don't want to get... I'm going to get 2 accusations here. I'm going to get one, I just an apologist for all the dearly departed teams. I'm not. I try and cool it down. And 2, it's Tyrone Mings. I always get, look at that scarf up there. I always get, oh, you never criticise me. Yes, I do. I just feel that Mings is just one of those players where, I don't know, people, there's this group think and conceived wisdom. I don't know what it is about certain players where people feel that they have to tear them down a peg or two. Mings is definitely one of this, and he's going to concede the penalty here. Just before that, that was I thought the best chance I could have picked out. Free header for Van Dijk, who's such a physical sort of freak of nature specimen, isn't he? Just this huge, wiry, brilliantly athletic guy, and normally powers those into the net. But Martinez, who'd made a couple of good saves, gets behind that one as well. Here is the penalty, though. And look, first of all, Salah is a brilliant player. I was at Watford, Liverpool, and I was blown away by Salah. He was joyous, fantastic. So big fan. He does have a bit of a reputation for drawing fouls and winning penalties. And okay, we're going to go on to the Leeds game. We've already talked about Godos for Brentford as well. But this is very much, I think it's Henderson who slides him in. Salah gets goal side of Mings in the box. And it's very much a case of... Villa's Ashley Young used to be good at this and kind of waiting and leaving a leg in. It's slightly different, I know. Very much a sense of Salah puts the brakes on. He knows Mings is kind of stumbling behind him and he's just waiting for that contact and he's gonna go down. Now, I hear you say, am I contradicting myself in the same video? Because I thought the Brentford one was a penalty in respects of you get punished for the error, i.e. Ekong throws himself into the tackle. He impedes the progress of the attacking player. And I thought that was a reasonable call for a penalty. This one, I don't think so. I think Salah gets ahead. I think Mings is kind of stumbling. Does he impede Salah's progress? Possibly, slightly. Does he impede it to the extent it's a foul? I don't know. Some people will then argue, look at Mings' right arm, but also look at Salah. You can see it's nothing to do with the pull on the leg. That's Salah's already waiting to, hit the deck, isn't he? Is there contact with Mings' right shin and the left calf there of Salah? Possibly. Is it just 2 players coming together? I think, and all you Formula One fans always use a term I like. Oh, it's a racing incident. Look. 2 big... Look at the size of bloody Mings as well and the speed of Salah. Okay, it is plausible that there can be a coming together and a contact that isn't a foul, is it? I don't want everything that's in the penalty area to be a foul. I think there's a bit of a binary sense, and football fans are very guilty of this, that they want every... So every foul is a yellow card, every bad foul is a red card, and every contact is a foul, and every contact in the penalty area is a penalty. I don't want to get towards that. There can be bad fouls that aren't red cards. There can be fouls that aren't yellow cards. And I think there can be contact or coming together in the box that isn't a penalty. So I'm not sure about this one, really. Mings is in the wrong place. Yes, I get it. Is there contact? Probably. Is the contact proportional to bring Salah down? Probably not. But I've said previously in the video that doesn't tend to matter. Is it a foul that impedes the player massively? Could Salah keep going? Yes. Does Salah go down easily? Of course he does, but hey, all players do. I don't know. I think you can argue against this one. I'm sure if you're a Liverpool fan, I mean, we can't see the faces of anyone watching Salah coming on. You probably think, oh, that's definitely a penalty, and Mings has impeded him from behind. I don't know. Not so sure on that one. Not to say, and fans get very confused about this. When you talk about a penalty in a game that a team dominates, they say, oh, well, we deserved the win over the course of... Well, no, I don't care. That's a completely different matter, isn't it? Talk about the penalty in isolation. And let me leave it and say I'm not so sure on that one. Definite easy argument that that's not a penalty. But hey, it got given, so it is a penalty. And Mohamed Salah, of course, slams the ball into the net there on 67 minutes. Look, feel free to comment on the penalty. Just what we do need to remember on penalties is that it is subjective. It's not definitely a penalty or definitely not a penalty. It can't be, because it's subjective. It either is in your opinion or it isn't in your opinion. So whatever your opinion is, I'm erring towards that I don't think that that's a penalty. Whatever your opinion is, fine. As long as you state it as an opinion and you respect others and my right to have a different opinion on a subjective matter. And that feels very much in the grey area of, this looks very much like a penalty or very much not like a penalty, and somewhere in the middle there feels very, very shades of grey, doesn't it? Liverpool go on to get the win. That is the only goal. Penalty aside, I mean, look at the XG. Even if it is padded by 0.77 of a penalty, then, well, an extra 2.2 or whatever. So I don't think anyone would argue that Liverpool... I'm going to use the word deserved. I don't like that. You deserve to win a game that you win often, don't you? So, but how can I phrase it? Liverpool probably created enough chances to score a goal or more, and probably conceded enough chances to keep a clean sheet. So, deserved win, whatever. But the way they take the lead and the time they take the lead, that's 67 minutes. Even 3 more minutes, you're into the last 20, and then can you frustrate a little bit more? And almost you get to the point there, if you're the defensive side in this situation, where, yeah, it's the Alamo. You're heading, kicking, clearing, everything. Let me get you a number up. Actually, it'll be on the screen there, won't it? Where's interceptions there? Look, tackles 21, interceptions 7, clearances 23 for Villa. Can you keep clear? And then once it gets into that last 10 minutes, does then the home side, a good side like Liverpool, probably not, but does the home side then lose confidence? So, as much as, yes, I accept the argument, Liverpool create enough chances to score more goals than Villa, fine, we get it. That penalty really changes things, given that 0.77 chance of scoring and the timing of it. So, I don't know. Obviously, Villa going in there, 38 possession, no shots on target. Maybe they're not going there to win the game, but could have got themselves a frustrating 0-0 and a clean sheet. Look, get your comments in on 3 things. The penalty, but remember it's subjective. There is no definite one way or the other. It's subjective. It's an opinion. 2, the kind of spoiling tactics and, going there for a point. Do you like that? Smart, pragmatic, or, Schauhausery? And it's allowed, isn't it, to go and play a defensive strategy at a team as good as Liverpool. And Stevie Gerrard, does this change anything in terms of perception, or is the fact that Liverpool is just a difficult game and he's gone there, got reasonably close, lost by 1, and I think a bit of a spurious, debatable penalty, I have to say. So let me know where you are with Stevie Gerrard over these first, 5 games now, 3 wins, 2 defeats, but the 2 defeats have come to Man City and Liverpool. There you go. Plenty to talk about there. Get involved in the comments. It was Liverpool 1, Villa 0. And just when you thought we talked about enough penalties for today, here comes another 3 in the Leeds-Chelsea game. Deary me. Chelsea 3, Leeds United 2. So, yeah, we are really on the penalty calls today, literally every single game. There's one in the Norwich Man United game for us to talk about as well, for crying out loud. But a 90, what does it say, Penalty given by VAR in the 93rd minute for Chelsea to win this one 3-2. It's a classic English football fixture. Chelsea versus Leeds. And here are the lineups. And Leeds, very much like Brentford, just... I was saying last week, just pillaged now. Just so many first teamers that you'd want to be consistently there through the season have not been there for Leeds. And last week I was saying, oh yeah, Ayling's back, Bamford's back, this is great. And then all of a sudden, Cooper, Bamford and Phillips all disappear again during the week. So look, Meslier in goal, Dallas right back, and no sooner has Ayling got back, he's covering centre back. Yes, he can do it, but obviously, if you're a Leeds fan, you'd like to see players actually get a go in their right position without injuries stopping that. Llorente and Firpo. So, obviously, no Cooper there, no Koch in the centre-back positions. Firpo is the left-back. Then, Forshaw in deep central midfield. Obviously, Calvin Phillips is now not there. And, I mean, you tell me, in terms of Leeds key players, Bamford, Phillips, Bamford, I don't know. You'd quite like to have at least one of them on the pitch, wouldn't you? Neither of them here today. Harrison, Shackleton, Roberts, Rafinha, and Dan James. So no Rodrigo either. And look, we always have these conversations about Leeds, don't we? But whatever the team shape is, the team shape is. I wasn't at the game. I don't know. I didn't get a wide shot of the pitch, but... we know Bielsa will happily just dot players about in different positions that perhaps we don't consider to be their primary position. Maybe we need to just ditch the idea with Bielsa that a player has a position and not accept that premise, and that they just learn the ropes and they're moved around accordingly. Like Dallas, Ayling, another. I suppose James would be if he's playing. I don't believe that's a 2 up top for 1 minute, by the way, but. There you go. It is what it is. Let's not get suckered into a numeric description of how 10 outfield football players are lined up. It is what it is. And Chelsea line up there, well, much more certainly with Tuchel in their sort of 3 at the back system there. Mendy in goal, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Alonso, James, Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Werner, Mount, and Kai Havertz. Plenty of yellow cards in this one by the look of it. Plenty of goals as well. And by God, Leeds are going to take the lead. Now, of all the penalties that we are dealing with here, this is probably the easiest one to do, because this is a very much... we were talking about the Brentford one where Ekong slides in to impede the player, completely mistimes his tackle and all of that. And then... doesn't quite catch him, and Godos has to make sure there's contact. Not the case here at all. It's Dan James, isn't it, going down the right-hand side. Marcos Alonso, is it? Sorry, blurry pitch. Look, it's a penalty, isn't it? Slides in, completely mistimes it. James is so fast. Cleans him out in the box. I think that one, you can see the ball is actually going behind Alonso as well. I think that one is... probably the most obvious one we've had so far, given that Godos for Brentford had to kind of maybe exaggerate some contact a little bit. Penalty Leeds. And, again, discuss with me, Leeds fans. I think they get a little bit of Rafinha. What are you doing with the quick run, hop, stop, stick it in? Confuses the hell out of the keepers, though, doesn't it? Mendy, who's very good in goal, kind of stops and then throws himself to his right, but Rafinha sticks the penalty and Leeds lead 1-0 at Chelsea on 28 minutes. Can they get to half-time 1-0 up? No. And Mason Mount, and I'm sorry Leeds fans, because you always tell me off, who scored in that famed, well, I was there, playoff semi-final for Derby, scores against Leeds again. Looks like he's... having some back and forth with the Leeds fans, because he seemed very intent on shushing them. He sticks in Marcos Alonso's cross. It's good, actually. I mean, it looks on the surface like Mellier's left a huge gap, but that's probably not fair, because the cross comes over really fast and Mount just sweeps it into the net. Good cross, good finish. First half, really open. Look, 11 shots to 5 in Chelsea's favour, 3-2 on target, 2 big chances to 1. So Chelsea fans will argue they were probably good value for a goal. Leeds fans will argue, damn it, Ben, could we have got to half-time at 1-0? Does that then, just give you a little bit more strength, going into the second half? Who knows? It didn't happen. What did happen is another penalty, and I think, again, it's not quite as certain as the other one, but I think this is definitely a penalty, isn't it? Rafinha, a little bit silly, really, in his own box. Look, Rafinha's a brilliant player, isn't he? But getting back defending, just stand up. It's Rudiger, for God's sake. He's not... Imagine it the other way round. If it was Rudiger on Rafinha, you could understand him sliding in because Rafinha is such a good dribbler and technical player. But yeah, Rafinha is just a mistake, really, isn't it? And he slides in, and you can see maybe Rudiger's leaving it in a little bit, but it is very clear that he catches there the left foot, and Rudiger, whether he's keen to go down or not, I'll repeat my comments from earlier in the video talking about Godos and Truth Stekong in Brentford, Watford. You almost get punished for mistiming the tackle, don't you? And if the player... we spend a lot of time trying to persuade people, forget the ball, okay? Forget the ball. The ball is often irrelevant in whether something is a foul or not. In these penalty situations, we're almost now getting to the point of, well, forget the contact. It's is the player impeding by sliding? I remember there was one years ago where it got given. It was Steven Gerrard, actually, against Sheffield United, where it was the intent to foul and he had to jump over the tackle and the penalty got given. We're almost in those terms with some of these this weekend, for goodness sakes. But I don't have a problem with this decision, I have to say. Let me know what you think, Leeds fans. I'm sure some Leeds fans will have a problem with it, given it was given against their team. But they're a good bunch, the Leeds fans. I think they'll probably concede this one. And concede is what they do. Spot the ball there. It's flying into the top corner. Jorginho, who's a very good penalty taker, isn't he? As us England fans found out in the shootout in the final, didn't we, against Italy? Meslier, wrong way, sticks in the top corner. And Chelsea lead. However, what about this? When did he come into the game? Joe Gerhardt. He comes in the 81st minute. And he started, didn't he? Was it at Spurs? I can't remember the game. Gerhardt's start was thrown in. I think it was against Spurs away, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong on that one in the chat. Comes into the game, the ex-Wigan man, and scores pretty much immediately. Brilliant stuff by Gerhardt and Tyler Roberts. It's a very Bielsa ball goal, isn't it? You start seeing him go in midfield, and we've seen this for 3-4 years now at Leeds, where that ball moves quickly and the runners start going. All the players know, this is the bit where we go. And the ball moves so quickly. Out to Roberts, crosses in. And lovely finish, actually. Look, he's going there with the right foot and kind of lets it come across his body. Equally good finish as Mount did in the first half. Gerhardt sweeps it in right in front of those away fans. And Leeds have got it to 2-2 in the 83rd minute. So big load of fight to get it back to 2-2. And then, you know what's coming, don't you? Oh, dear. So, the ball is played into Rudiger. We're in the 93rd minute. Rudiger has got his back to Click, and he's trying to control the ball. Click is behind him there with the right foot, and Click is either trying to get touch tight and make his presence feel, or he's trying to play the ball around the side of Rudiger or through the legs of Rudiger. Now, when we look at a freeze frame, it's very, very easy for us to go, Click, what are you doing? His foot's in the way. You can't play the ball through his foot. But, obviously, that ball has come in and they've both lifted their leg up. So, Click is obviously thinking he can play this ball or at least make a challenge on Rudiger. What happens is Rudiger tries to control it. there's some kind of contact with the back of Rudiger's ankle there, or the side of his foot, and Rudiger goes down and wins a penalty. And I say this quite a lot. Sometimes, no, I do say it a lot, where I don't want this to be a penalty. So forget the rules, forget the laws, and forget evidence and have we seen these given before. My first take is I just don't want this to be a penalty. So ball goes into the box and a player should be able to make some kind of challenge, even if it's just lifting his leg up behind the other guy's foot, some kind of challenge to get touch tight. If he doesn't, and Rudiger turns him or whatever, everyone's saying, why aren't you touch tight? Why are you so slapdash at the end of the game? Again, it is very easy to make the argument here, oh, what are you doing, Click? You can't go through him and challenge the ball. But I'll go back to the other things we've discussed, i.e. impeding player, contact, making a big mistake, and the proportion contact to foul, for player to go down. Is that a big mistake like Rafinha made, or Alonso made, or Godos made, or Mings less so in the Villa game? No, it's not at all. This feels a very, very severe punishment for a player getting touch tight, ball bouncing up. He thinks he's got a chance of winning it. Contact, not that this always matters, I get. Contact is clearly not... Rudiger's a huge bloke. Contact is clearly not bringing him down. It is most definitely a dive. I do accept the argument that it can be a foul and a dive at the same time. And I've been a big proponent of, look, if you do think this is a penalty, still book Rudiger for simulation, because there is no way... And yes, then I accept the flip argument. If players don't go down, then they don't get back. I do accept that argument. But that's on referees, isn't it? If they think they see a foul, the player shouldn't have to go down and shouldn't have to dive. And they do. And yes, we're in a whole bad situation and I'm going down a rabbit hole. I just hate the fact that that's a penalty. Come on. In days gone by, for that to be a penalty, Click would have had to literally go through and we're not talking about, look, this is not endangering an opponent, like you're going to snap their ankle when their weight's on it and their foot's to the ground. The foot's dangling in the air. It's not that great a danger, unless he really smacks his foot. Yeah, okay, an impact injury. Yeah, if you smack someone's foot dangling in the air hard enough, yeah, you're going to endanger them quite severely. This is not that at all, though, so I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it one little bit. If we're being very, very pedantic, can we argue that there's some kind of foul in that one man kicks the other man's foot? Yeah. Is the punishment conducive with the crime? A free shot at goal from 12 yards? Absolutely not. And I saw a tweet about this, that this is one thing in football's rules that going forward, this idea that just the slightest of mistake and the punishment really doesn't fit the crime. I don't know. Does the penalty box need to be smaller? Can that not just be an indirect free kick in the box? Is it only, I don't know, goal scoring opportunity? I'm talking myself down a complete rabbit hole, minefield, whatever. I don't like it. I feel it's very strict. I feel the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I feel the contact is not proportionate with the player to go down, and I get that doesn't necessarily matter so much. You fine in the comments if you want to make an argument that, oh, it's a penalty. Fine, make that argument. I don't like it. The fact that you make the argument, it's not I don't like the argument you're making. I don't like that this is a penalty. Anyway, I've said my piece here, and we move on. VAR gives it, and Jorginho scores it. Meslier was having fun, pointing to one side. Jorginho goes the other, sticks the ball in the net. And tempers running high, fairly understandably. Obviously, we need to control our tempers in life, don't we? But the Leeds players not happy with the way this game played out, and with Rudiger, I think, at the end. The game ends 3-2 to Chelsea. 16 shots to 12, 6 shots to 5 on target. on the XG. Okay, 2.93 for Chelsea, but we all know they had 2 penalties. Yes, Leeds had a penalty as well. 4 big chances to 2. Okay, that parlays and the XG to a certain extent that Chelsea may have edged it in terms of pure numbers. But the way that they've won that game, or let me rephrase that, the way that Leeds have lost that game were really smart. And if I get comments from Leeds fans saying, Ben, I'm really pissed off about this, I completely understand, because I don't like that. And again, if it's the laws and the laws down to a T and it's that strict, then I don't like the laws. And we had this with handball where, you know, who was it? It was Spurs and Newcastle. The guy's turning away and the ball's blasted at his hand and might not even be in an unnatural position last season. It was a penalty. The punishment has to fit the crime. And we cannot be having games decided. It's a free shot from 12 yards and Jorginho is so good. I just think these laws going forward, there's got to be a standard where, and remember last season it was worse, where everything was a penalty. Empty stadiums, VAR going crazy, handball hadn't been tweaked as well. Every single contact in the penalty box was a foul and then it was a penalty. And it was rubbish because it was basically, to win a game, you just needed to be able to persuade a referee that someone had touched you in the penalty box. And nah, don't like it. Don't like it. Anyway, big rant about that. Leeds competitive without Bamford, without without Phillips, without Koch, without Cooper. Ailing moved out of position. Not really a striker on the pitch. Gerhardt gets the ball. There's some positives, but in the words of David Brent in the office, you're still thinking about the bad news, aren't you? So, yeah, give me your thoughts, Leeds fans. And again, as I've said with all these penalty calls, look, it's subjective. I respect your opinion. If you think that last one's a penalty, fine. But I think I've made my argument clear that it's probably, if that is the law and that's the correct interpretation of the law, I don't think the punishment fits the crime, doesn't it, when it's a free shot at goal in the 93rd minute. Anyway, I'm labouring my point. Chelsea 3, Leeds 2. Go on, get in the comments on that one, you lot. And finally, it was Norwich 0, Manchester United 1. Norwich in the 5:30 game on Sky. What game are we under in Dean Smith land now? I think it is game number 5. It's now a win, 2 draws, now 2 defeats in a row. And sorry, Norwich fans, for banging on with the same statement every time. But we do not want, for your sake, that 2 wins and 2 draws, that 8 points in 4 games, to become a bump and an outlier. At the moment, that is happening because we're now down to 2 points from 4 games if you take this 4-game sample. So if we look at that bump in the points per game graph, it needs to bump back up. And this was my concern. Yes, hard opponents, etc., etc. But it's now back-to-back defeats. It's now 2 points from 4 games. And look, we will get into the nuance of whether it was close or whether it was unlucky. I'm just talking about big picture, about that bump in points per game becoming a bump. And it is now a bump, isn't it? And we need a win for Norwich in the next game, 2 games, 3 games, etc. to have a bit more of a regular points output. But look, let's get into this. And very much a sense with Norwich of late against Wolves. Could they have snuck a 3-pointer there? Maybe. Against Newcastle, could they have won? Yes, they had a huge chance right at the end of the game. They played against 10 men for the longest time. Against Spurs, okay, they missed it. 3-0, fine. Let's park that one. We're going to sound silly if we argue all of these. But again, this one, we have a situation where they're playing against Manchester United, a significantly wealthier, people don't like the term bigger, but let's use it anyway. Bigger opponent with superstar players. They're close, aren't they? Close, but no cigar. And along with this statement I keep making about bumps in points per game graphs, Norwich need to take points and win games when the circumstances line up. there's going to be games where they just don't have a chance this season, where they show up, I don't know, away somewhere. That team plays well. Norwich don't lay a glove on them. It's a 2-0, 3-0. That will happen just by virtue of the fact that they're a championship team coming up. But even though there's optimism around Smith and whatnot at Norwich, I am slightly concerned of this pattern where that hasn't been happening, where circumstances have looked okay for getting a win. And yeah, I don't expect Norwich to have a run of 4 wins, a draw and a defeat in 6 games or whatever. But we could be looking at that, couldn't we? If they'd beaten Newcastle, perhaps drawn this game, I suppose they would need a win against Wolves as well in there. But it doesn't feel like they're that far off it. Yet, we're here talking about 4 games without a win, 2 points for 4 games, 0.5 points per game. That is pre the game against Brentford form, isn't it? So, there we go. I think I made my overarching points, but it was Norwich versus Manchester United. Here are the teams. Krul in goal. Giannoulis starts, I guess. Williams is exempt in this game if he's on loan from Manchester United. Aarons is the other fullback. Kabak and Hanley in there for Norwich. Does that mean Gibson injured? I'm just checking the bench. Yeah, so Gibson not around. Hanley goes off in 21 minutes in this one as well. So Norwich, like Leeds, might have a centre-back issue again here. McLean, Gilmore, Rupp in central midfield. Sargent, God, he needs a goal. Pukki and Placheta up top for Norwich. So pretty close to a strong team. I think their Rasica is not on the bench there. Missing Rasica a little bit, aren't they? Past couple of games. For Manchester United and this fabled 4-2-2-2 formation that all the tactical hipsters seem to be interested to talk about. And Ranić, De Gea in goal. Darlow and Telles. I know Wan-Bissaka again. Lindelof and Maguire. Fred, McTominay. Sancho and Fernandes. It's supposed to be like double number 10s, but, you know, needing to cover at certain points wide. It looks very narrow on paper, but I'm sure in practice can be worked. Cristiano Ronaldo and Marcus Rashford up top. And David De Gea is going to have a good game here. And there's definitely an argument, without being a dearly departed apologist here, definitely an argument that Norwich should have been on the score sheet in this game again. Same against Spurs. Again, let's pop those two in different boxes. I'm not saying Norwich should have got something at Spurs because they conceded 3. Fine, whatever. But here they've only conceded 1, and it was a penalty, and it was quite late in the game, wasn't it? So this is a Pukki shot deflected. That's brilliant, isn't it? You do have to, if we do have Norwich fans commenting, you do have to take your hat off at times. That's literally a fingertip save. I know he went almost De Gea, didn't he, from being, you know, world class essentially to having a couple of not so great years, but he can be such a great keeper, can't he? And he tips that one over. I'm sure the Norwich fans are thinking he is a great keeper. Right, this is the penalty incident, and I'm almost fed up of talking about penalties now. 3 in the Leeds game, 1 in the Villa game, 1 in the Brentford game as well. 1 here, but I do think this is a penalty, I have to say. So the cross goes in, it's Aarons and Ronaldo, and it feels, I mean, it was given by the referee, but it feels like a real one that's always going to be given in modern VAR land. The cross comes in and Aarons, whether Ronaldo's leaning in or not, the second Aarons puts his arm around the back there, and there is the sense of a sort of pull back or a bit of jostling. Whether Ronaldo's clever and he's leaning in and pushing and, you know, facilitating the pull, you know full well, if they show Max Aarons the video on it, that if that arm goes up and the forward then quickly goes down, you know it's going to be a penalty, don't you, for getting handsy in the box. I get the argument that if this was from a corner, it probably would get overlooked, wouldn't it? But in open play, with that ball going in, with one of the biggest stars in football as well being the player on the end of it, not that that makes a difference to whether it's a penalty or not, but everyone's going to notice it, aren't they? I don't have as much of an issue with this being given as... Look, if we line them all up, I think the worst one is the God, Click on Ruddock, then Mings on Salah. This one might go in third in terms of how much of a penalty they are or not. But look, they either are or they aren't. And again, I will say penalties are subjective. There is no definite. So once again, if you are going to comment on this, please respect others' opinions. Respect mine. I don't have an issue with this one, certainly as much as some of the others. There is no definitely was a penalty. There is no definitely wasn't. It's subjective in the eyes of the referee and in the eyes of, who was it in this game? Referee England. He thought this was a penalty and it got given, and VAR didn't overturn it. And of course, up steps the great Cristiano Ronaldo. Tim Krul doing his normal bouncing about and trying to put the striker off, sticks it in the net. So that's 1-0 on 75 minutes. But, my God, Norwich have 2 chances here. Here's the first one. I think they're both Kabak, aren't they? It's a great save again, because look at where the ball is. It's not a comfortable go across like that. He's having to get right down. De Gea, he's a tall man as well. Kabak will think, oh, God, if I just manage to head that down a bit lower, he's not getting down to that, is he? But that's a great save. And then we go from great save to great chance. Surely he's got to score that, Kabak. Look how close he is. We'll see the blob on the XG there. De Gea, it's one of those where he just kind of gets his body in the way and gets the save. But it's one of those where we say keeper's allowed to make the save. Surely Kabak can stick that into the corner, into that gap from that close in. And I keep hearing the argument, I think it's Gary Neville was saying it on Sky. He was asked, was this De Gea being outstanding or Norwich not taking chances? He didn't go with the bit of both. He said Norwich need to be more clinical. And now if we're looking at Wolves game, Southampton game, that Pierre-Lys Melou chance right at the end of the Newcastle game, Pukki, Sargent, Eder all didn't take chances against Spurs. And now, not Pukki in this game. He's okay. That took a deflection. Brilliant save. Not Kabak the first chance. Okay, good save, good header. But this one, you just want, if you're a Norwich fan, take the chances. Stick the ball in the net. Be clinical. Easier said than done. Most difficult thing in football. Obviously, I'll mention Buendia because I mention him every week in terms of Norwich. But there is a sense that Norwich's clinical nature has dropped off with Buendia leaving. Whether it's him creating very, very big chances that are easier to take, etc. Is it? I don't know. With Pukki and Eder's chances last week really that much trickier? I don't know. But yeah, I do to a certain extent buy Gary Neville's argument of, come on, stick these chances in the back of the net. They don't come along that frequently, do they, in the big games? And look at it. Again, a penalty pads the XG stats, doesn't it? 0.77 takes it down to about 1.6. But other than that, it's tight, isn't it? Look, 53-47 on the possession, 13 shots to 11, 5 shots each on target, 8 corners to 6. That is not a dominant win by Manchester United, is it? It's not a clanging defeat for Norwich. So, we play glass half full, glass half empty, don't we? There's 2 ways this can go, can't it? Norwich are clearly in games, and okay, we might have a little implicit bias here with it dearly departed, and we kind of, enjoy the dearly departed teams doing okay, don't we? But they are in games, and there is a sense recently, particularly over this last 4, where they've only got 2 points, that they're slightly underperforming in terms of the points output, the performance. Now, 99% of football fans would rather have a team that was performing well and not quite getting what perhaps fans think, we can use that word deserved again. You don't deserve to score goals if you don't put them in the net, but I can't think of a better word. And this always goes one of 2 ways, doesn't it? Either the performance level keeps going, and in the end, the points start to reflect it, perhaps, and the players get a bit more clinical and a bit more confident in front of goal. Or it goes the other way, and this is the peak. And the peak is playing well and not quite good enough, and it drops off and the wins never come. So Norwich fans will obviously hope it's a case of no, the performance levels are good, keep that consistent, bit of confidence, a bit of clinical finishing, maybe a lucky win from somewhere, and away it goes. So we'll see how it pans out. It's just the Premier League is hard, and I will repeat, when you're in a circumstance to pick up points, teams that survive relegation pick up points when they're in a circumstance to pick up points. Even if it's a 0-0 draw against Man United, fine. Take the point or whatever. That Newcastle one does smart, doesn't it, for Norwich fans, where it was a direct rival and 10 men for most of the game. But there you go. Get your comments in. I know we're going to get loads of comments on penalties. Literally a penalty in every game we cover today. But yeah, fill those comments with your thoughts. Norwich 0. Man United 1. Right, as usual, we're going to try and ride on through without an edit. So I'll press that button. Right, there is the league table. I've been waffling on for ages, so it's now nearly midday. Probably waffle on for so long that the the games are all played by the time I finish talking. But yeah, as things stand, that is the league table. Forgive me, I'm just on the other screen, just so I know who's playing who today. So Brighton and Spurs postponed today. We've got Leicester, Newcastle, Burnley, West Ham, Palace, Everton, which will be of interest to most of our teams. So Newcastle, Burnley, all in action down there. Palace as well, they can catch Villa. Leicester can go above. So look, that table could look very different at the end of the day. But as things stand, Brentford 9th. We won't focus on the league position. We'll focus on the points. And basically, we're judging all of our teams, actually, aren't we, at the moment, on 1 point per game and where they are in relation to that. Brentford are nicely above. And the comment I would keep making about Norwich, when you're in a circumstance to win the game or get some points or get something, do it. Brentford are doing that at the moment. You know, snatching 3 points late on there against Watford. So therein lies the difference, doesn't it? Between a team who's 9th and a team who's 20th and got twice as many points. Just taking advantage of those situations. Villa, 19 points from 16 games. But if you take the Steven Gerrard era as, a small sample, good. 3 wins and the only 2 defeats coming against Liverpool and Man City. Leeds, Chelsea away with injured players, losing to a pretty dodgy penalty in the 93rd minute. Could have been worse, couldn't it? Could have been worse. But yeah, I just wonder whether this season ends up being Leeds fans saying, look, Ben, we just never got our first 11 out on, and we'll get to where we can get to, whether that's 17, 15, 13, whatever. It does feel now it's going to be a struggle for them to match last season, doesn't it? They really need a fair wind, and with available players and Phillips and Bamford, get them on the pitch if they can. But it does feel now Leeds are essentially just going to have to cobble together what they can from this season, just get as high as they can in the table in the circumstances. Watford, yeah, worrying, 17th. Burnley 2 games in hand. Newcastle game in hand. Keep an eye on that. By the time you're watching this, I don't know, Newcastle going to get anything at Leicester? Maybe not, but Burnley always start moving, don't they? Norwich, bottom of the table. And again, I don't need to repeat myself. The points per game thing is a concern. It's already turned into a hump now. We're back to 0.5 points per game from 1 4-game sample. Just slide it along 2 games. We've gone from 8 points in 4 games to 2 points in 4 games. Need a 3-pointer on there fairly quick, and need to, clinical finishing, confidence, all easier said than done, I know. But they don't want to get back into that rut, do they? Norwich. And speaking of which, look at this. Brentford, Manchester United. It's a midweek round as well, so we're going to be at it again during the midweek. Brentford, Man United, can they get that Sky Sports atmosphere, we'll call it, night game atmosphere? Norwich, Villa, woof. You like that? And again, like most of our dearly departed derbies, both sides are going to have that down as a game they can win, aren't they? Both sides will feel that. Manchester City versus Leeds. I don't really know what to say about that. Good luck, Leeds. Let's hope a couple of those players return or are close to return. Burnley, Watford. Oh, hello. That's such a big game. And let's completely not leave our bias at the door. Let's cross our fingers for Watford on that one. Good luck to the Hornets. There we go. That is our dearly parted round 16 review. Thanks again to Simon for being our fan sponsor. Sorry I have waffled long and detailed. We're well over an hour today. These shows are getting longer. But remember, in the timestamps down the bottom, you can jump to your team if you just want to listen to your team. Get your comments in. Look, I know there's going to be a lot about penalties. I know it gets emotive and whatnot. It's frustrating, but remember, it is subjective, and we just got to listen to people's views. And okay, some may not be very logically formed, but hey, penalties are subjective. So do get involved with your comments. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. And if you like Simon, who's our fan sponsor, if you do want to get involved, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you everybody for watching. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy, in terms of a 3-game week in the Premier League, enjoy that because we're going to be back. We'll figure out whether we do. In fact, give me your feedback on that if you're still watching 1 hour plus into the video. Give me your feedback on whether we go Wednesday morning record and do it each morning. Got to check out that schedule and figure out what to do for this coming week. But we'll certainly be back with possibly one or more Dearly Departed shows during the week. Okay, thank you everybody for watching, and it's a lovely big over and out from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time.